2022, where we are reconvening from closed session, where direction was given and no action was taken. Will you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance. Under God. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. So moved.
Motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 absent.
Moving on to presentations and proclamations. Homeless and Runaway Youth Awareness Month proclamation. Is there someone here to accept this?
Thank you so much.
This is a proclamation recognizing that the month of November 2022 as Homeless and Runaway Youth Awareness Month. Whereas California has an estimated 200,000 homeless youth, including some 1,500 K through 12 students in Butte County. And whereas approximately 25% of youth exiting foster care will experience homelessness, and whereas natural disaster and lack of affordable housing have exasperated youth homelessness across rural California. And whereas a high percentage of homeless youth have been physically, sexually, or emotionally abused by their guardians and are frequently re-victimized and exploited while living on the streets and in shelters. And whereas LGBTQ plus young adults are at a 120% higher risk of homelessness when compared to their peers, and comprise about 40% of the unaccompanied homeless youth population. And whereas, due to the lack of stable housing, homeless youth face great difficulties in accessing and succeeding in school, thus creating obstacles for students to graduate. And whereas the citizens of Oroville are the key to ending youth homelessness by acting as mentors and role models for our youth, guiding them toward available resources, productive choices, and by creating opportunities for youth to successfully transition into healthy and successful adults. Now, therefore, I, Chuck Reynolds, Mayor of the City of Oroville, in concurrence with the Oroville City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2022 as Homeless and Runaway Youth Awareness Month in the City of Oroville.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, Okay, moving on to public communication, hearing of non-agenda items. This is time to address the council for non-agenda items. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Mr. Mayor, I have 4 speaker cards. The first speaker is Don Blake.
Mr. Mayor, last Wednesday, Newsom announced the ERF grant was approved. The emperor has no clothes. There is no justification for using public money to purchase non-congregate shelters. Even Biden admits that the COVID pandemic is over. We are in a congregate setting right here in this council chamber. No 6 feet apart, no masks. Spending $10,000 on a metal shed to provide non-congregate bed space for a homeless drug addict is irresponsible. During a March 2022 City Council meeting, Annie Terry told you that the current congregate shelter would be gutted and replaced with a non-congregate pallet shelter. The mission now provides 60 congregate shelter beds for men, 18 for women, plus 2 rooms for women with children. A total of 80 beds plus beds for children. It provides indoor toilets, showers, bathrooms, sinks, and city water. If the Mission Esperanza project is completed, the mission will offer 76 shelter beds at full capacity, a loss of more than 4 shelter beds. Plus, it will rely on outhouses, bottled water, and a weekly shower van. Does this make business sense to you, Councilman Smith? Attorney Huber and I may disagree on the effect of the harm reduction requirement, but what if I'm right? Councilmember Goodson, you know the needle exchange will not be located downtown. The Pigs Liquor Strip Mall has several vacant storefronts. This grant will provide funding for the LaMalfa interests want. The funding the LaMalfa interests want. It will triple the annual revenues of the mission with no increase in services, and it will make Oroville beholden to Gavin Newsom, as this grant is significantly larger on a per capita basis than similar grants to urban areas such as Oakland. What we have here simply is a poorly thought out political power play by you, Mayor, and it's wrong.
Our next speaker is
It's pronounced Vager.
Okay, Mr. Vager.
Thank you. My name is Robert Fager. I am the commander of Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 1747 in Oroville. I'm here this afternoon to present a certificate of appreciation from the Veterans of Foreign Wars to thank the city and its various departments for supporting our inaugural Safe and Sane Fireworks Booth fundraiser this past 4th of July. I would like to personally thank you, the council, CAL FIRE Oroville, the Oroville Police Department, the City Planning Commission, as well as the City Clerk's Office, as they took a team effort to make this fundraiser a success. The Veterans of Foreign Wars took a massive loss of membership and fundraising to the global pandemic. The money that we raised by selling safe and sane fireworks boosted our finances in a way which lets us refocus on not just trying to keep the lights on, but get back to the business of why the Veterans of Foreign Wars is here in the first place, and that is to help veterans. Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 1747 has been supporting veterans in Oroville for the past 93 years. And with your continued support of our fundraising efforts, such as our Safe and Sane Fireworks booth, we will continue to support veterans in Oroville for another 93 years. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, may I approach?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for supporting the VFW.
Thank you for your service.
Our next public speaker is Steve Christensen.
Everyone, I was here 2 weeks ago and Dr. John Rivers appeared, and his 3 minutes ran out before he had much of a chance to make you aware of this weekend, Saturday night, dinner. It's called the finest annual event in Oroville. It's South Oroville African American Historical Society annual Legacy Awards. So we hope to see some of you there. It is a very fine event. I've seen some of you there in years past, and I know it's always been great. So I want to make everybody aware. Saturday night, Feather Falls Casino.
Our last speaker is Bill Spear.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I just came here this evening to thank God. To thank him that the election's almost here and we'll have it in our rearview mirror. Thank him for being able to gather here and speak over our city. I really love the Pledge Allegiance part when we start out, and especially the part where it says, one nation under God. There's your separation of church and state. And then it goes on to say, indivisible. And the enemy really tries hard to get us all divided. But we pledge every time we meet here is that we're not going to be divided, that we are one nation under God. And so I would like to thank the veteran guy left, all those who have served. And we have the Veterans Day Parade coming up, the 11th at 11 at 11. Would encourage whoever to participate and show honor. The Bible says, give honor where honor is due, and double honor to the man of God. So I'd like to pray for all the people who are in our public service, all who have run for office on both sides. So, Father, we thank you for your word, and it says, the greatest of all shall be the servant of all. Thank you for all those you have put it in their hearts to serve, and Lord, who have ran the campaigns, who took time away from their families and been attacked by this side or that side. And we pray for healing, for not only for our city, but for our nation. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We pray for the rescue mission, and thank you for the gentleman that speaks on it. We thank you for Pastor Allen, and we thank you for Annie Terry, and we thank you for all the people with wisdom as we move forward, that we would use the wisdom that comes from heaven to move forward, to bring glory and honor to your name, to help the least of these, that they're not just drug addicts or somebody's children, somebody's mom or dad, someone's brother and sisters. And so we ask for wisdom. It says that you give generously without finding fault. And so we ask for wisdom from heaven for our city, for all our elected officials, for all those who serve, for all those who are on the front lines. We love you. We praise you. We give you all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Mr. Mayor, that is the last of the public speakers.
Looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
So moved.
I'll second.
Looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar, pulling item number 5. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 absent.
Councilmember Hatley, you pulled item number 5 from the consent calendar. Do you wish to comment on it, sir?
Yes, thank you. Chief's item here. On this, are we keeping the recording equipment from this business because it was a major crime? Are we keeping that? Is that why we're replacing it? Or did we just need the component that's in that piece of equipment?
No, it was an older surveillance system that we need to keep the entire piece of equipment that kept them from, kept us from returning it to them. It wasn't a piece of a memory stick or a memory that we could pull off of it. The cost to replace it, because it was an older piece of equipment, required replacement of the cameras and everything else for the business to continue to operate. This piece of equipment was taken because it was a major crime. It was the individual that shot on the bus, and an individual lost their life in that particular one.
Okay, I just wanted to know if,
Yes,
because
sir.
normally you could just
Right.
take.
Normally, you can take a memory stick or you can download
Right.
it. That was not the case in this
Okay,
situation.
Okay, that's understandable then. Thank you.
Looking for a motion to adopt item number 5 of the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 absent. Is it not working?
It works now. Okay, moving on to regular business. Item number 7. Word.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and members of the public. Let's see. We have been accepted, our award's been accepted for local agency technical assistance grant funding. It's been approved by the California Public Utilities Commission. This is $500,000 that is reimbursable, 100% reimbursable, and would be used for pre-construction planning costs associated with broadband deployment for our jurisdiction's unserved and underserved areas. LADA is one of 4 funding allocations created by Senate Bill 156. Underway is the state's open access middle mile infrastructure, and upcoming is the federal fund account last mile, as well as the loan loss reserve program. There are incentives to building off of these other planned networks should we decide to accept our LADA award as applied for. The Golden State Connect Authority, or the GSCA, helped us and about 30 other cities and counties with the LADA application. The GSCA would be managing and administering our LADA grant and project should we accept this award. The City of Oroville would be a project advisor, providing input and local knowledge, as well as reporting admin support costs for the monthly and quarterly progress reports required for the reimbursement of funds. The progress reports would be reviewed by the city but be submitted by the Golden State Connect Authority. The GSCA has contracted with Tilson Technology and Utopia Fiber to perform the scope of work. Utopia is set to have a technical advisory and engineering management role, and Tilson would be designing the network. While there are several methods of obtaining broadband or high-speed internet, this is fiber optic infrastructure, which can be used for more than just internet services. It's scalable for the future, and it's compatible with the other funding sources in SB 156. The network itself would be open access, which means that providers would have to compete to use the infrastructure, as opposed to being the owner-operator and setting their own prices. The scope of work has been broken into 3 deliverables. Work product 1 will include address identification, conceptual route planning, an initial build budget with a buffer of plus or minus 25% accuracy, a preliminary network map, and a refined scope of work for the remainder of the project. The second work product will have a more refined fiber service area network map, which here is called the high-level designs, and the map would include connection facilities, fiber counts, and distribution hubs. The build budget will have an accuracy of about plus or minus 15% and will include labor estimates, capital expenditure estimates, and network hardware. At this stage, the GSCA will have a series of recommendations for prioritizing the low-level designs in unserved and underserved areas. So the third and last deliverable, low-level design and engineering, takes the high-level designs and uses them for field surveying and approved for construction designs. This would include all the required permitting, applications, and related documents for construction-ready plans. The vast majority of this infrastructure, 98% or more, would be installed in public utility easements, which SB 156 has broadened to 30 feet and exempted from CEQA for these projects. We would be able to monitor the project in real time through an online portal, and we would meet with an economic development rep from the GSCA after the completion of each project milestone. The entire project has a 24-month timeline, and work would begin immediately after acceptance of the award. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the public on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any blue speaker cards.
Do I have any Councilmember Pittman?
Yeah, thank you. In particular, we have areas, and I know the Public Utilities has identified our shadow areas, if you want to call them, where we don't have good internet and broadband in the city, in particular South Oroville area. Many of our businesses out there are spending a lot of money for broadband that doesn't work very well. Plus the airport is another. Are we going to have the ability to help to see that improve, or?
We'll be able to provide comment and input as an advisor to the project. And during Work Product 1, the addressing portion of that product will include how many addresses the route will pass by. So they'll have a good recommendation for us between Work Product 1 and 2 on what are the most unserved areas after they do that research.
The other thing that's unique here is we have huge fiber here in town, but we don't have access to it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but the biggest east-west coast link is here to Oroville along the railroad tracks. Is that going to be a project that's going to help to expand that particular, or is it going to be developing another fiber line to our area?
My understanding is we're able to build off of existing infrastructure, and there is benefits or incentives with the other programs in SB 156 for doing so. But the project consultants will have more details on that.
And then my final question was the Golden State Connect Authority. What other cities in Butte County are part of that, or do you know?
Chico accepted a later award, but they're designing their own open access network. And Butte County has also accepted an award, and they're going to be working with the Golden State Connect Authority.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Congratulations, actually, too.
Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, just for clarification, so what we're talking about here is a project to identify the locations that do not receive adequate internet service, and then the infrastructure that would be required to deliver that service to this particular addresses within our city.
It will accomplish both of those things,
Right.
and we'll have a network, a planned network, which would be ready for construction at the very end of the
But
project.
then how to tie into the current infrastructure, the nodes, and to
Right.
connect all the dots. So that being said, so this $500,000 does that, and then the next phase would the build out itself. So then, I'm kind of curious about that because I'm thinking about private, AT&T,
Right.
all the, Comcast, all the
Right.
regular players, but this infrastructure is not going to be done by them. So who?
Not necessarily, but
So
we
what's
could,
it, just maybe a 30,000-foot view? What's that look like? So is it going to be public money that builds out these pieces? And because you had mentioned, and the reason why I'm engaging this is because you had mentioned that they would have to then bid to provide the service along that particular
Right.
network. They wouldn't own the network, but that they might be the service. So they might, and or others throughout the state could then bid for that. And I'm just kind of curious about that piece.
having the planning done in advance will greatly reduce the costs associated with bringing in the project to completion via construction. And we'd have the opportunity to be partners, open it up to a private provider, or be the owner operator ourselves.
So it could be public and or private
Right,
as far
that
as the
would be-
build out, or is it, we just don't really fully know yet until we know what it's going to look like.
It has the capability of being public, yes.
Okay, all right. That's kind of what I was hearing. Thank you.
Anyone else? I remember this being I believe the idea, I know it was the vision of Mayor Linda Dahlmeyer, and she really pushed for this for her whole 8 years of serving. And it's nice to see it come into fruition. So congratulations to us and her for her vision. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 9106.
So moved.
Second. Showtime.
Motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 absent.
Moving on to item number 8, review and adoption of the 2022 Code Enforcement Department Procedure Manual.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. What I have for your consideration and authorization is the 2022 Code Enforcement Procedure Manual. The last manual that I could find was authored in 2014. I couldn't find where it was approved by you guys or by a past council. So I thought it was important that, our department has some direction and understanding in what's expected of our team. An accurate procedure manual will help avoid inconsistencies, provide employees with direction handling specific work-related situations, and to support the department's mission. A procedure manual can also provide security to new employees that really don't know what to expect. This procedure manual covers a lot of areas. I'm going to discuss a few of the important ones. Just something as simple as the onboarding process, how to obtain computer logins and passwords and contact with the IT department. Getting your ID just to access the building, gate codes, and to meet with Liz and complete their human resources paperwork for new employees. I authored a field training guide quite a few years ago that we still use, and it covers how the orientation around the city, the introduction to staff and departments, and skills and tasks that will need to be learned and performed before you can clear probation. It covers a lot of mandated training involving safety, consent, due process, and the 4th and 14th Amendment, to make sure that people are properly notified, and when we enter someone's property that we either have their consent or authorization from a judge. Safety is huge for me. I authored a pepper spray procedure that was approved by the city, that's used by my staff specifically to keep them safe. I learned they take training on how to protect themselves in the field, how to stay safe within the office, and how to avoid dangerous situations, which I think is the most important thing. If you sit down and research what you're going to do, make sure that you have the right manpower there, the right teams, law enforcement, animal control, whoever needs to be there, just to stay safe and to limit the liability to the city. Code enforcement investigation, they're taught how, or in the procedure manual covers what investigations that we cover, but most importantly, what investigations that we don't cover. It's important that we don't cover certain areas that involve our attorneys, that make us liable or make the city liable, and it's important for them to know what those investigations are. Working with other departments, code enforcement works closely with the police department, public works, animal control, Butte County, and all sorts of areas. And they're introduced to those agencies and those departments, and they learn how to work with one another. With our resources that we have, a lot of the code enforcement cases that we cover require that police be present and require that animal control is present, and that Butte County Environmental Health at times are present, or Butte County Mental Health is present. Chain of command, which is important to me. If I'm not around, who do they go to? Understand that our citizens come first, and then it goes to the council and city administrator and the attorney, and down from there. It's important that they understand that when they need a question answered, that they don't jump hoops and go above me unless they're given permission. And most importantly, how we treat our citizens, I think that's huge, and it needs to be ingrained in everybody that works here. So we're here working for our citizens to make the city a better place and answering to them. You know, when they call and need our help, they really do need our help. You know, individuals that call us want something solved, they want it resolved, and we do the best that we can do. And this procedural manual covers a lot of that. And before I say anything further, I'd like to thank City Clerk Jackie Glover for helping me format this policy. And also Kalisha Riley, who's my former assistant, who covered the public records request section of that. And it was very helpful and has been helpful since that's been completed.
Do you have any questions from the public?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any blue speaker cards on this item.
Councilmember Smith.
Where do you find the time to do all this stuff? No, really, I mean, you are such a hard worker. I'm so impressed with all you do for our city. I just really appreciate this is just great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Pittman.
Yeah, thank you. I certainly echo the same thing. And you've already done the monthly reports to council. What I'm suggesting maybe in the manual to add the monthly report, maybe not necessary, but an annual report around budget time would be something to get in the manual so that we all know to expect that to come out, because that helps us in the budget process, and I think that would be a great thing to have. I'm sure you do it anyway,
yes,
but if we memorialize it in the manual, it'd probably be helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I just want to say that I'm thankful that you were dressed for this presentation, because I thought I missed school picture day.
So I just want to say thank you so much for
Councilmember
all that
Goodson.
you do. We really appreciate it. And, you know, you and I have constant dialogue on a daily basis. And I was just pulling up a couple of responses from some of the constituents that live in South Oroville. They say they appreciate all that you guys do. And so.
Thank you. That means a lot. And when it's windy and rainy out, I love breaking out the sweater vest.
I think you look exceptionally dapper.
Dapper was the word.
Dapper.
Maybe we'll get to see your crew out in Thermalito one of these days. Thank
there.
you.
Actually, and speaking of Thermalito, what an amazing job you did on that property. That was a lot of cleanup, a lot of encampments, abandoned RVs. I don't know how long it took you. It looks like 2-week job, but you guys did it. You were full force out there with your cats and everything, and you cleaned it up, and I appreciate that.
Yes, when I talk about relationships, you know, Public Works is out there. And, you know, prior to doing anything, we had behavioral health out there. We had our housing navigator out there providing resources to everybody, you know, and giving them a week's time to, you know, vacate private property. That's someone else's property, you know, and unfortunately, you know, there's additional damage where junk, trash, and debris and other items were tossed over onto the state levee. And I've actually met with an individual down there, and we're working on abating that as well. They have security down there now that is working on moving other people along. But it's not always just code enforcement. Like I say, City Works was there, Public Works was there, and it's a team effort. Everything we do is a team effort, and it just involves our city. So.
And I had actually seen a couple of comments from the Thermalito residents, and they gave a thumbs up to you guys too. Hard work, appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
council members, if I might also share the comments of Sam Emerson, who reviewed this manual. He had very positive things to say about Mr. Belser in this manual, and was very impressed. Not to explode your head even further, but this manual is actually going to be utilized in other jurisdictions.
Good job.
Good job.
Moving on to reports, discussions, and correspondence. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Looking for a motion to adopt, review and adopt the 2022 Code Enforcement Department Procedure Manual.
And Mayor, it should probably include the amendment that Councilmember Pittman had, which is for an annual report.
Yeah.
So moved.
All right. I second that.
Moved and seconded.
Motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 absent.
Moving on to reports, discussions, and correspondence. Council announcements and reports. Do we have any announcements from this council? Councilmember Pittman.
Well, first I'd like to mention the retirement of Jeff and Cindy Comer, Comer's Print Shop. That's a store that's been around for a long time. Now they're moving into the second generation. Actually, maybe the third generation. I'm counting who's going to run it. Fourth generation, maybe, yeah. So very nice to see Jeff and Cindy retire and enjoy their life. The other report I want to give up, the Oroville Dam Citizens Oversight Committee met on Friday. And not a lot more. They're getting ready for the final report to come out. But the big thing I think that was looked at is the inundation maps. There's a kind of a serious need to look at Oroville in the levees south of us on the river. The other district has really improved the levees to what they call the 200-year mark. But here in Oroville, our levees really aren't to that point. So I'm going to suggest in the future we need to look at either joining that levee group or looking to something coming from the DWR on inundation studies, because when they built Highway 70, sometimes we call it a levee. It's not a levee. I mean, it's just a rock pile that was built up for the freeway, and it was never designed to be a levee. So there are future items that I'm sure we're going to be looking at. And then some kind of discussion as to what to do with that part of the, quote, freeway that's supposed to be a levee, but it isn't. Other than that, it was a good meeting, and the final report soon to come out with that group and that body. That's it.
I'll comment on that as well, since I serve on that committee. We're trying to, we have jurisdictional boundaries that start at the top of the levee and go down towards the water, and it includes state parks, fish and game. Highway Patrol is actually in charge of the water. So it's very hard for us to cross those jurisdictional boundaries. And in meeting with Senator Nielsen and Assemblyman Gallagher, we're actually meeting with the commanders. Had a conversation with them the other day, which was a follow-up from a couple of years ago before COVID. And we're trying to erase those jurisdictional boundaries so we can at least attend to what's in our front yard, that we will have the authority to eradicate homeless camps along the water, remove debris, and all of these things without going through a mountain of paperwork to do it. So just want to let you know that we're working on that, been working on it. We have worked with these agencies and gotten permission a few times, but we need to have access that's consistent so we can take care of our front yard. So anyway, just wanted to let you know what was going on with that. Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, this Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning, there'll be an ORAC meeting, Oroville Recreational Advisory Committee meeting. And that particular committee, of course, oversees recreation as it applies to up at the lake, of course, after Bay, for Bay, and through just in general in our area, the recreational, all the recreational areas that are influenced by the FERC boundaries. And so that meeting will be happening at Southside Community Center at 9 o'clock this Friday. Also, I just want to remind everyone, and I think we've already heard somewhat from the veterans, that on the 11th we'll have a parade here in Oroville. So if you're still wanting to get involved in that, the Exchange Club, of course, is the agency that is putting on the parade, and they have applications at the Chamber of Commerce. So if you want to jump in and get involved, and also the Parade of Lights, the applications are available as well at the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Anyone else? Having no one looking for future agenda items. Councilmember Pittman.
Yeah, thank you. There's been a lot of discussion about the potential of involving our security of the community with the possibility of contracting with private security firms. What I'd like to do is have staff take a look at 2 or 3 cities that actually are doing that, and I was informed the city of Chico is actually doing it now, and finding out what that looks like. I know 3 or 4 cities that are doing it, and it'd be nice to bring it before the council so we could see what they're doing, what the costs are, and what's the possibilities of that to the future. This is more like a request for a cursory look at it, but I think as we were told we had a meeting the other day, many communities have brought in private security services for their parks, public ways, and particular public areas. And it sounds to me like it's been very successful, so it'd be nice to have a council to have a number of cities to see what that looks like. So if we could make that request and find out what it looks like, I'm sure the other council members would like to have that information.
I would.
Mr. Lando.
Nothing to report.
I mean.
Oh, we'll follow up on that. That's a pretty simple request. Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I misunderstood. We will definitely follow up on that.
Reports, Mr. Lando.
Nothing to report.
Ms. Bergstaff.
Yes, I do. As we heard earlier, I wanted to notify the council that the city did receive an award letter on Thursday afternoon from the California Interagency Council on Homelessness, which is CAL-ICH, that we were awarded $2.7+ million in encampment resolution funding for the Mission Esperanza project. I've communicated with the grants development section chief from this department, who confirmed that neither a needle exchange program nor a safe injection site are mandatory features of a Housing First program. City staff will be meeting with the rescue mission and the city's consultant to bring a presentation to the city council on November 15th, as well as ask for approval to move forward with grant funding. I also wanted to let you know that both Ms. Nevers and I were able to attend a bus tour with the Housing Authority last Thursday. We started in Chico, went to Biggs, Gridley, Oroville, and Paradise, and we're able to see all the affordable housing projects that they are working on, as well as the city. It was great. There were jurisdictional staff members, Butte County, nonprofits, and legislative staff, and it was very informative.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to make a small comment on that because I see on social media that there's people that are saying that this $2.7 million has come in for the city to mitigate things that are going on in the city. That's not accurate. It's for a specific project. It is not for the city of Oroville. The city of Oroville's simply helped facilitate the grant. It is not ours. So just want to be clear about that we're not misled.
Mr. Mayor, if I could expand on that, the importance of this project is that due to the shelter crisis, it presents obstacles to us from removing individuals from public spaces. By creating this space for individuals where they have a place to go, we have somewhere to send them where they can either vehicle camp, they can tent camp, they can pallet shelter camp or live, or they can congregate live, is the idea behind this facility that we're suggesting. That tremendously helps us. It helps the city and it helps our citizens with our transient population so that we have somewhere for those folks to go. So this has been a long-term project. I'm very proud of our staff. We in the North State, we were one of 2 grants. The other city, a large city of over 100,000 plus people, only received $950,000. So this is going to go a long way on helping solve our issues out there. As far as making this a place where people can live. It's not going to eliminate the mission as it exists right now. It's not going to require us to have a needle exchange or a safe injection site. There are strategies that have to be put in place. And it's basically boiled down real simply is you meet people where they're at and then take them to where you want them to be. You can't be successful, I don't think, in rehabilitation of people if you tell somebody who is an alcoholic or a drug addict, stop being an alcoholic and a drug addict, and that fixes the problem. Oftentimes you have to meet the alcoholic or the drug addict where they're at and incentivize them and encourage them to live their life in a different manner. So this will help us do that. There's a lot of tools here. Very proud of our staff, very proud of our city. This has been a collaborative effort of staff. This is, I'm not sure what Mr. Blake means by a power play, but this is absolutely not a power play by the mayor. This was between myself, Ms. Bergstrom, Mission, I shouldn't say Mission, Annie Terry, Steve Terry at the time. We sat down. There were some other players as well, and we formulated this idea. So we've been fortunate to receive this, and we really hope that it's going to be successful. But it's a very important tool for our police department.
I want to expand on that a little bit as well, because we do have a gentleman that comes here and speaks he's very determined. We simply will not accept a needle exchange program, any program where people are going to be allowed to have drugs or alcohol on the premises or and the authority that we have over that, if we don't have that in writing, then we're not accepting the grant. Councilmember Goodson.
I just want to thank Pastor Dykes, who's here, who stepped up to the plate to roll up his sleeves and further the vision of Annie Terry and the board of Oroville Rescue Mission. And there's so many others. You didn't have to do it. You already had a job. Your hat was already, your plate was full. So I appreciate you, and I'm sure everyone else does too. We stand behind you, okay? And whatever assistance, just, you know what the number is.
Mr. Huber.
No, sir. I think everything's been mentioned tonight.
Ms. Nevers.
I would like to report that our museums had their first family-friendly trick-or-treat event this last Saturday, and between 1 and 5 p.m. they saw over 825 visitors. So it was a very successful first event. We're hoping to conduct it annually and expand on it a little bit next year.
Councilmember Smith had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. So we frequently post things that are going on out of the chamber. One of the largest items, the views that we had, was the goats. I knew the goats were coming. I took a picture of the goats and posted it just, on a whim. And we had 12,000 views on the goats, which was kind of cool. That's quite a few. But so Heather, of course, our curator here at the city that's recently been hired, she's been just doing a phenomenal job, came up with this idea of the trick-or-treat at the museums. And so she had put together a flyer. And we posted that, of course, on our social media at the chamber. And it's a record. So we had over 16,000 views. So I just wanted to give her a shout out, job well done of just putting something out that's attractive, that caught attention on social media, and that's just amazing.
Thank you. Yes, she is doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
So perhaps someday she can be introduced to all of us.
Yeah. Chief Legron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to report back to the council that as of this week, we have 3 cadets that we'll be sending to the academy in December, so we will have 3 additional officers by the first part of next year. We have 1 graduating the academy now, and I have another one that is a municipal law enforcement officer who actually is post-certified and will be coming on. So as a police officer now, as opposed to an MLE. So in the next 5 months, we will be having as many as 5 new officers joining our department from our MLE program. We've recently interviewed for adding to our staffing in the MLE program. We had 10 applicants, 8 of which seem like they're really good, strong local applicants for the program. So we're hoping that in next June, after we complete this cycle, we'll be able to have another batch to send to get our staffing up to where we would like to have it at. So I think that the MLE program is a strong possibility for a lot of different things, including enhancing patrols and things like that may make our city feel a little bit more secure and safe.
Chief Legron, again, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, but things catch my eye. I'm sorry. what'd you say, Oroville Concerned Citizen?
No.
Okay.
Oroville politics. And
Chief Lagrone, I would, if I was you, I would recommend arranging a tour of the newly remodeled department, because I seen it on there where somebody said nothing has been remodeled. There's nothing that's happened there. We spent quite a bit of money there. We'd like to see that.
We were trying to finish up the last few things. Recently, this as late as I think it was weekend before last, they finished the slurry coating and the striping in the parking lot. So we're to the point where like 99% complete there at this point. So we would like to schedule and have a council meeting there so we can invite the public in to have them see the facility, to see how we've invested their dollars, to take away whoever may have mystery about what's in there. I mean, it's not super exciting or anything else, but you know, if you don't know, it's probably interesting. So we would like to schedule that when the council's prepared to do that. We'd like to hold a meeting in our new operational emergency operations center. That was the first time the city's ever had. So we would like to do that, Mr. Mayor. Don't know what the feelings of the council are, but we would very much like to do that and invite the community in to take a look at, you know, how we did invest their dollars.
Appreciate that. Mr. Belser?
I'd just like to report that 3 of my code enforcement technicians attended the 2022 California Association of Code Enforcement Officers Conference. It's a 3-day conference where they receive extensive training on how to deal with sophisticated cases, again, on safety to meet the requirements of State Bill 296. It's a networking area where they learn what other agencies are doing, what software they're doing. They actually came back with some interesting ideas. I sent them on a little bit of a homework project. They've learned of a software that is out there that kind of spiders out through the internet and identifies all the bed and breakfasts, the rentals everywhere in the city of whatever city. We can do it in the city of Oroville. How often these places are rented, Airbnbs, individuals that are running these type of operations that don't have licensing or inspections. I thought that was one of the unique tools that they came back with. Also, we're in the process, we're close to getting the end of hiring 2 new code enforcement technicians, which will fill our staff. And then we're preparing interviews for our staff assistant.
Thank you.
Amen.
Well, with that, we will adjourn until November 15th, 2022 at 4 p.m.